Hi, Dawn Lewis here. Welcome to our final day, day 5 of this Sketch and Scraps video series. All week I've been using one sketch and this fuzzy feline set by Hello Sweetums. Let's take a look at the first project for today. It's a card, but for the first time I'm actually making a landscape card and we are going to mix it up just a little bit. So first things first, I'm going to stamp the sentiment using Ranger Archival Jet Black ink. I like that one for sentiments. It's crisp, it's very dark, it's very black, and I'm trimming that down. Now I'm not trimming down the whole sentiment, I'm just trimming it down into a single strip. And I'm going to use the pre-colored kitties to measure and figure out where I need to put my pattern paper because I'm flipping this sketch on its head and our pattern paper will go at the top of the page. Now this isn't a strict follow of the sketch, but it is a starting point. For the contrast strip, I'm using this white strip and instead of putting it against it, I'm layering it on top of the pattern paper and it includes the sentiment. So there I'm combining two elements into one. To place the kitties fairly evenly apart, I placed them left and right and then just eyeballed the center kitty. So you can see we've flipped for our pattern paper. I've got my contrast strip, which includes my sentiment, and my hero image, well, it's kind of in triplicate. A landscape card instead of a portrait card. So there's one idea for today. For card number 2, here we go with something a little bit different. I'm using pattern paper down the bottom, nothing different there, but instead of leaving white card up the top, I'm adding some contrasting cardstock. This is my contrast strip. The thing is, it fills the entire card. So there's no white space, but the yellow works so beautifully with the center of the daisies on that pattern paper. My hero image is there. My sentiment is up above the line instead of below the line. And I've added a little embellishment by the way of an accessory fish. So there we see the differences and the similarities between the original sketch and this new landscape card. For card number 3, I'm really mixing it up. I walked right away from the sketch somewhat for this card. I was looking at all the pieces I have on my desk, a big stack of leftover pattern paper, and among them was this pre-stamped panel that I had made. It's just white cardstock. I've used the Mixed Boxes stamp set by Darkroom Door, and I thought, you know what? I think these cats are going to fit in these boxes. So I played with it a little bit and I was very delighted to say, yes, the cats fit in the boxes. Now, sometimes you just pick something up and you realize this is going to work. And this was one of those cases. I am using the same size card. I'm using pattern paper. Let's call the Mixed Boxes my contrast strip. I'm adding a sentiment. It also fits well inside the box. And I filled it with other accessories in the 2 blank boxes. Now this is super simple. Yes, you could make this more complicated. I have hero images. I have all the elements. I've just mixed it up because I got carried away, and that's what sketches should do for you. For project number 4, we're doing another landscape card, and this one, well, not only do I have pattern paper scraps on my desk, but sometimes if I've got some embellishments that I've pulled out to use and then I don't use them, they sit on my desk as well. So what I've done for this one is I took some red cardstock and I had cut the center out of it because I don't need that middle bit to be all covered up. It's going to be covered by this cute multicolored rainbow pattern paper. It's a Kaisercraft paper, if memory serves correctly. I decided to use up a paper doily half. I've used half of it on another project, so I thought, well, I'll use half of it on this project. And for this project, I'm going to go to one of my favorite things to do, and that's make a cluster. So when you're making a cluster, you can just take a mishmash of embellishments and cool things and put them all together. So my contrast strip is going to be right here, just a piece of white cardstock, but I'm adding to it by adding a piece of red ribbon. It works with my rainbow pattern paper, it works with my frame, and it creates that sketch contrast line. So while we're not working fully over from the left to the right of the card, I am working within a framed section. This is still a different way to interpret the sketch. I've tucked the raw edges of ribbon underneath the pattern paper, and we're going to use a sleeping kitty for this one. So, play around with clusters. They're It's really hard to explain how to do them properly. I've got the sentiment here and I thought I'll put that to the left. It's going to balance out the cluster that I'm about to build, and it's matted on red cardstock, which coordinates with the look we're doing. I've taken some paper flowers. I've been saying pattern paper so much, I'm starting to see it in my sleep. I'm stacking up a small white paper flower with a smaller yellow one on top, and I'm just using Tombow liquid glue to hold them all together. Now the cat is my guide, so I'm just using it as a guide to where I want to put my embellishments. And in the center is a teeny tiny adhesive. I can't remember if it's a gem or a pearl, but you can see. Then I've taken a red paper flower and added a bumblebee brad. Try saying that 5 times fast. And I've glued them both down. Now, if I'd been thinking about it, I would have used the brad, I would have gone through the pattern paper, but I'd already stuck it all down. So it's quite acceptable to glue that on. On this teeny tiny tag, I figured out which word would fit, and it's the meow. So I've just masked off the stamp. I've inked up the meow only and stamped that onto this mini tag. I don't need all of the string, so I've trimmed it down, and I'll put a teeny bit of double-sided tape on the back of the tag just so it holds where I want it to hold, and the string will hide in behind our kitty cat. So the adhesive from the cat is going to actually hold down the string and keep everything in place there. And look, this is our cluster. It's building up. We've got a base of the red ribbon, we've got the doily, we've got 2 little flower clusters, and then I found these cute little Kaisercraft droplets. I forgot I had them in my stash. I store my stuff by color, so I pulled out my red embellishment box and my yellow embellishment box, and I found all these cool things. I was going to use a red button, but I felt like it was balanced enough and I didn't want to use that because I'd rather use the red ball of yarn accessory stamp. So here you can see I have pattern paper, I have a contrast strip, I have my bunch of hero, and I have my matted sentiment. So while it follows the sketch, it doesn't follow the sketch, if you get where I'm going. This is the final project for this series, and it's not even a card. This, as you may have guessed by the thumbnail, is a bookmark. I've used the Bookmark It die set from Mama Elephant. This is amazing. I love this thing. And what you can do to cut the panel inside, cut a duplicate of your bookmark and then just trim off all the stitch lines with the scallop edge, and that's going to leave you with a template. Keep that in with your die set and you will always have a template. So I've got my pattern paper, I've got my white card around it, I have a contrast strip, I've got my pre-colored image which I'm adding, and I'm going to add a little ball of yarn accessory stamp as well. And you can see I've only needed to use the blue and the red. I told you I had a lot of blue and red. I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto a scrap of white cardstock, and of course it's going to go below the contrast strip. I didn't mat it though, I felt it didn't need it. To finish off my bookmark, I'm taking a fun red tassel, and this has worked out beautifully. It was quick, and here you can see contrast line, pattern paper, border of white, sentiment, hero image. While it's not a card, it still follows the sketch. So here are all of the projects that I made today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video series, that you will look at sketches with new eyes and appreciation and understand that you can twist them, you can turn them, you can flip them, and just use them to inspire you to get started when you need to get yourself out of a card making funk. If you're looking for Hello Sweetums in Australia, you can find it at dawnlewis.com.au. I'll link all of the products I use down below. You can find all of the projects over on my blog as well as the sketch. I do hope that you have a very crafty day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.